So let's talk about some of the green products. I mean, these are the sort of the bigger scale, the furniture, etc. But even to have a mindset of, okay, this office, we don't have windows here that we can open. So let's think about, what we clean the carpet with, what kind of furniture we have, what we're purchasing, etc. So what are some of the other green products? The cleaning products, the paper, all of that.
Well,
toner. I mean, is
sure.
office toner eco-friendly? I mean, is it...
Toner cartridges, for example. You can buy brand new ones, or you can buy recycled toner cartridges. We would encourage people to buy recycled toner cartridges. When you're done with a toner cartridge, some of these companies, for example, Hewlett-Packard and some of the others, they give you a free UPS ticket to send them back to their recycling center where they refill them.
Okay.
Rather than those plastics ending up in a landfill somewhere for the next million years.
Really?
So,
and you're not joking when you say for the next billion years, because it does not break down. It truly...
A plastic water bottle, a plastic
will not break
ink
down.
Cartridge, a million years, give or take.
And not even. Right. It's unbelievable. I mean,
really
you think
is.
of the sheer amount of those products that we use.
Sure.
Okay.
And so it runs the gamut.
Right. Those big, gigantic cartridges when you use the toners in those machines that are just dumped. So you can, if there's a recycling program, or you
Sure.
go with a group that has that recycled. Okay.
And paper clips. It can be something as mundane as paper clips. You can buy recycled paper clips. It can be the plastic bins that you use in the office for inboxes and outboxes. You can buy products, office products like that are made from recycled materials. And then you can also think about the some of the other things you're using, like some of the office machinery and office equipment, computers. There are computers that are Energy Star efficient. I would certainly consider those. One interesting note, laptop computers. Many of them will have a label saying they are Energy Star efficient. But what about that little external power supply? Most of the time that piece of it is not. So it's actually an interest you want to really kind of read. You got to be a label reader, because if the computer's energy efficient but the power supply isn't, it sort of defeats its own purpose.
Okay.
Copiers probably use more energy than just about anything else in your office. So you want to make sure you go Energy Star there, so that when they're idle, they sort of shut themselves down.
Which annoys everyone.
Yeah.
Because you have to keep putting it back on.
Sure.
But, right, you know, that little bit of effort. Okay.
Sure.
So even the paper that you're using, if you're mindful to buy recycled paper.
Sure.
You
want post-consumer content.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. You want to cut down. And again, you want to think about electronic delivery.
Right.
I mean, do I really need to print this out and hand it to John or Sally in the next cubicle? Or can I attach it to an email? I know it seems impersonal to send an email to your next door neighbor in the office, but the truth of the matter is that's very eco-friendly. And while we're talking about printing, all right, think about how many times you print something out and go, oh, gee, that didn't fit on the paper the right way. Let me print it again, but this time landscape, or this time shrink it. How many times do we print something and then toss the first or second version because it didn't print the way we wanted it to format?
Right.
Use that print preview function. Make sure that it's going to print what we want. If we have to print, make sure it's going to print what we want. Make sure we use one sheet of paper.
Right. And use the back and front. I know sometimes as a business owner, I send in proposals, and a lot of for the government, and a lot of the governments want those proposals two-sided on recycled paper. You can't email it to them, but if you do mail it in, it has to be on recycled paper and two-sided. So, use the backs exactly. Just be a little bit more aware. And even the office products. I mean, sometimes they come in there, I remember when I used to work in an office, the stuff that when you would read some of the labels on those products, because it's an office, they have to be super duper toxic so that they kill everything, supposedly. But there are products, right, that
Sure.
smell great or fresh, that can be used to clean. Now, can you have some control over that? Speak to your landlord, speak as a renter in some of these buildings, say, you know what, we want our offices clean
Sure.
with green products.
So, very much so. Very much so. These days, Your landlords are very approachable on these topics if they're the ones who are controlling the cleaning service, but more often you're bringing in your own cleaning service. It really depends on what your deal is with your landlord, but most landlords are pretty open to it, and many cleaning services now are, just like everyone else who's marketing their business as green, are saying yes, we can do green cleaning, and they will bring in the right products and do a green cleaning for you.
Okay. I know I recently started going to a green cleaners. I never liked going to a cleaners before because I know enough that there are all kinds of chemicals that they use. If you're not throwing it in a washing machine and you're cleaning it, something's going on. So I like the idea of, going to the green cleaners, that was not, leaving as much of a carbon footprint, which we're going to talk about. You can explain that. So, I think, too, just even the green practices that your website mentioned, unplugging stuff, lowering the thermostat, which is going to freak everybody out at work because everybody has issues with the temperature at work. But those kinds of things, turning the lights off, not leaving everything on at work is also some of the information I saw, which makes sense.
And sometimes you can, and sometimes you can't.
Right.
Sometimes you just can't unplug the server. It needs the server. Not only can you not unplug it, but it needs to have that external power source in case there's a power outage. There are some things you can't. Right. So you have to do what's practical.
Right. And just be mindful of that. I mean, certainly in the business and even in our homes, to just be mindful of that makes a lot of sense. Okay. Something else I wanted to mention to you. We were talking a little bit about it, and it's something I saw a show on, and I think it's worth sharing because we're always updating our computers. We want the latest computer, and there's this big plastic. I think it's worth noting when they talk about not only the computers, the plastic, but what's inside it and the chemicals that are used, the lead. These computers are sold to places, right, that supposedly break them down and recycle them. Sometimes hire people to pull out the lead, and they get very sick by doing that. I mean, there's a big controversy that I saw going on over this, but we're all updating, we're all getting rid of this equipment, and it's massive amounts of plastic.
Sure. Well, we want to be careful how and where we recycle batteries, computers, and office equipment. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of control over it. And I've read a lot of articles that suggest that some of the companies that are in that business of recycling, and they're supposed to be pulling out the lead and the mercury and some of the things that really should never make their way into landfills. Sometimes that's not always happening the way it should. So we're always concerned about that. And these days, when we talk about eco-friendly office products like printers and copiers and computers, these days there are two things to consider, and one of them is the energy consumption, but the other one is suddenly we're seeing entire product lines where they're telling us everything in this computer will biodegrade in a landfill, and none of it's toxic. That's pretty neat. Now I'd be out there looking for some of that stuff because to me that's a humongous breakthrough in this particular area, because now you don't have to worry about, I give it to the recycler, but what do they do with it after I give it to them? Is it being handled appropriately?
Right, and I think that's what we need to think about more, just beyond ourselves and our own need to see. This particular show I saw was in Asia. They showed that this recycling was supposed to be on the up and up, and they were going to, carefully remove all the compounds and they had these women, children, men walking through this massive computer graveyard, going in and out, pulling out the motherboards and all that kind of stuff, and getting extremely sick in these sort of computer swamps out there. So if we just have that kind of a mindset, I think that's a good idea.